So as we start to look at, what are these challenge points? One of the big ones is our labor charges. Right? Costs are going to go up as a result of this. Retaining our larger, older workforce means we have a little bit higher labor costs there. These labor costs include things like the salaries that they earn, the health insurance, pay time off, other contributions that we're making to their employment. And then on the flip side, when they walk out, suddenly we're losing a large number of employees through retirement, which means we're losing valuable experience and knowledge that's difficult for employers to replace. And then we bring in these new workers they're going to make mistakes. They're not as efficient or aware of everything that we need as the organization. And that used to be that's not going to be an issue, or isn't an issue with our seasoned workers. So really the processes and the best practices that are second nature to those that we've had in the workforce a while need to be relearned by these new workers. And then any of those customer relationships that we had that were built over time need to be fostered and rebuilt to have that partnership. And then there's question of productivity. I mean, obviously, if our staff coming in don't have the full knowledge base, it's going to take them a little longer to do the work. But is that a concern now for the older employees that we're keeping on board, right? It's kind of a concern really, not just for your organization, but the entire nation. Are these older workers, as these older workers work beyond those traditional ages of retirement, we're wondering, do that affect the productivity? Are they, recent studies have shown that really it's not an answerable question, because in some studies it shows, they are less productive. In some stories, they're just as productive as the new employees. And other studies, they're even more productive than their younger counterpoints. So there's no true number supporting the lack or the decrease in productivity of our aging workforce. But you combine their exodus with the new staff coming on, and we're going to have productivity issues. And so for those workers we retain, their workloads are going to increase, and our traditional methods of executing work really need to be examined. How are our teams performing now against these new expectations and the industry standards? Do you have the visibility you need on what work needs to be done? And then, are you operating in a more reactive manner now? Are you able to be proactive in how you address your organizational needs? So our organizations have changed the way that the government workforces operate. And in some cases, they've done it permanently. It's also clear that the public sector employees aren't an expense. We've learned that they're really this asset that needs to be fully supported. Career government workers rally around the challenge the challenges of working in the pandemic. So this could also be rallied to help elected and appointed and other career government leaders achieve their highest policy aspirations. We have an opportunity to execute a larger change than what has already done. And then we have this organizational sustainability concern. So employers have several points to weigh, such as the size of your organization, any individual occupations that are being held, the hiring methods that we have. Do we have the flexibility to hire the way we want to? Are our employment policies ones that are going to keep people on board? And what's the economic growth outlook for our organization? As our organizations implement these financial and educational programs to accommodate these new changes, for a multi-generational workforce, you also need to look at updating and changing other plans. So compensation and employment policies, those all need to meet the needs of the older workers. If we look at the new younger workers coming in to replace them, to fill those spots, granted they're going to come in fired up and really willing to please, do what they need to do, but they also lack that in-depth knowledge that you build up over your silver employees throughout their career. So your newbie, how do they access this knowledge? Chances are you have data in some systems, but it's not as robust as the people that have been in your business for that long or they're about to retire. So we need to look at knowledge. How do we manage it? How do we capture it? How do we share it? So we have explicit and tacit knowledge that are fundamental to the workforce. And our workers, they're consolidating over time their ever-growing industry and organizational knowledge from their years of experience. And they couple that with the different disparate systems of data and technical manuals or contractor and supplier support. as well as varied software systems that may be in your organizations. They just know where to go to find information. So their own knowledge is what delivers such a high standard of service for your customers. But with age, obviously, comes experience. And unless you move to capture that experience, it's going to walk out the door.